Hello everyone, this is Orlando from A Collector's Dream, and today we're going to continue our Hager's comprehensive guide to rare 1888 baseball cards, and we're going to go where we left off, which were the 1913 Fatima team cards. So let's talk a little bit about the Fatima team cards. They're the T200. The set is 2 5/8 by 4 3/4. And I'll give you a look at what they look like there. They were issued in 1913 by the Leggett and Myers Company of New York. And this is one of two Fatima issues, Fatima or Fatima, however you want to call it. One team card came inside a 3 by 7-inch metal tin of 100 cigarettes, wrapped in wax paper and aluminum foil. All Fatima cards were shipped from Virginia. The front of the cards show a complete team with each player's name above or below the black and white team photo. On either side is the team and the league. It says that there were actually 16 different teams and a total of 369 different players that were in there. And on the backs, there was a special offer where you can actually get a 13 by 21 enlarged photo or picture of the Fatima card that you had there, or whichever one that you wanted in there. And it was just a special offer where you had to send out 40 Fatima coupons and you'd get the enlarged copy size. And those are extremely rare. But the regular size, 2 5/8 by 4 3/4, and there were 16 cards there. And some of the main things, the good thing about this is there was a lot of big name players there on these team sets. So for example, for the New York Nationals, you had the Christy Mathewson in there. You had Honus Wagner in the Pittsburgh team. You had the big one there is the Shoeless Joe Jackson. That's in the Cleveland team, and the Detroit has Ty Cobb, and the Washington team has the Walter Johnson. So you get early cards of these players for relatively inexpensive pricing. You know, consider you can get an early Joe Jackson card here with the team, but these are actual photographs, and the photographs actually have, it has the name of the player, and then it has the player right underneath it. So you can see how nice those look, and that it has, basically the entire team on there. So, and that's the Fatima. I picked up a couple of these in Strongsville, and I've shown those in my videos. I'll show them again another day. But that's the T200. Because today I'm not at home. I'm actually in a hotel, so that's why you hear some noise here, some building going on here. So I'm on the balcony doing this today. But I figured, I was going over the book, reading the book, and why not read it with you guys together? So let's go to the 1913 Zeenut, the E136. And I'm going to go by this pretty quickly because these were issued by Collins and McCarthy, but they were really just local regional issue in San Francisco. And they mainly have Pacific Coast League players. Now they did have a coupon on the bottom. If you find one with a Zeenut card with a coupon, they're very, very, very rare. But normally the size is 2 by 3 1/4. Without the coupon, it was a set of 149 different players. The thing with this is there's really no big name guys in here because it is a minor league set. You do have Harry Heilman here, who is a Hall of Famer, but other than that, it's just this set is just not very collectible. But let's get to someone that's really, really collectible, and that's the 1914 Cracker Jacks, the E145, E145-1, and these E145s, as you know, are the red background. They all have red background Cracker Jacks. These are super beautiful cards. And let's talk a little bit about these. These were issued in 1914 by Cracker Jack, a division of Rockheim Brothers of Brooklyn. New York, and Eckstein of Chicago, Illinois. This was one of the most beautiful and popular e-candy sets ever issued. This series features baseball players from the American, the National, and the short-lived Federal Leagues. The cards were inserted free in boxes of Cracker Jacks, the famous popcorn confection. The players in three-quarter length action or portrait poses are set off by the player's bright red background of the card. At the top of the card, the words Cracker Jacks appear immediately, followed by ball players. So it says Cracker Jack ball players, as you can see here. I'll go ahead and zoom in a little more on that one there. And then so at the bottom, and then on the reverse, printed right side up. At the top of this card, at the top is the card number. Now remember, these 1914 are printed right side up. That's how you can tell between the 1914 and 15. So the back has a short biography, which is nice because very few cards from the day had a biography of the player. At the bottom is an advertisement for Cracker Jack with their address in Brooklyn and Chicago. These delicate cards were printed on very thin cloth-like paper. The all 1914 Cracker Jacks exhibit molasses stains. So that's important because if they don't, then they have been bleached. So beware of these cards. They also can be trimmed and bleached. So you do want them with some type of staining. They all are going to have some type of molasses stain because that was the sugar that came out of there. So let's talk about some of the big names that are in this set here. And there are some huge, huge names here. You know, beginning, you know, on this page here with, you know, with the Ty Cobb. You've got all the big names here from Sam Crawford to Chief Bender to Comiskey, but you got the big ones are the Ty Cobb. You have Walter Johnson. You have Tris Speaker, Nap Lajoie. Of course, the big one is this Joe Jackson up here. And so you have the Joe Jackson. Let me move the book so you can see the Joe Jackson. You have the Christy Mathewson, another big card. You got the Honus Wagner, John McGraw. You know, you've got, I mean, the big boys in here. You know, especially again the Joe Jackson, the Ty Cobb, Christy Mathewson, Walter Johnson. And you have some, you know, some pretty neat cards in there. So that's the 1914 Cracker Jack. Again, a set of 144, and they're 2 1/4 by 3, almost a square card. So following that, we got the rest of the Fatimas, and these are the 1914 the players cards, and just like the Fatima team cards, they were also inserted in the packs. They're not packs, they were actually metal tins of 100 cigarettes, which were pretty expensive in those days. You're buying 100 cigarettes at a time, almost like, you know, like a case of, not whatever, of cigarettes, you know. So in there would be the big card, which were 2 1/2 by 4 1/2. And in this case, you know, they started putting players in there. And the players, you know, again, it's a glossy photo, an enamel photo, so they kind of tend to crack very, very easily. And the players are really action poses of the players. There are no Pirates or Red Sox or White Sox, or you're not going to get any Honus Wagners and stuff in there. So, but there are a few. There's the Walter Johnson, and the big one in there is the Walter Johnson card. That's the big card in the set, you know. And you have Frank Chance and Grover Cleveland and stuff like that. But as far as the bigger, the Fatima player cards, really not any big cards in there, other than a few of those guys there. Moving on, now we get to the General Baking, 1914 General Baking. Now this gets a little more complicated because some of these were in cigarettes, and some of these were in bread, and they all look the same, but they are considered a 1914 General Baking D303, regular backs and mother's backs. And these were issued in 1914. Let's take a look at these here. These were issued in 1914, and in two series, a series of two. The first one in 1911, which is D304, and then this one, which is the D303. They're crude pastel cards, and the front of the cards usually features an action pose of the player enclosed with a narrow border. And the backs, there's different backs there. They said either General Baking, Star Bread, French Bread, Little General Bread, Mother's Bread. So there's a lot of different backs in there, a lot of rare stuff in there. But, you know, for the most part, you know, the players that we're looking for there are, of course, the Hannes Wagner that's in there. There's Tris Speaker. There's a Ty Cobb. There's a couple of Ty Cobbs in there. There's one with the front view and one with the side view. So there's two Ty Cobbs, some Chief Benders, a couple of Chief Benders, and a Hannes Wagner. So there are a couple of Hannes Wagner, a batting and a throwing pose in there. And you can see kind of what they look like a lot of the caramel cards of the day, but this is a bread type issue. Next, another similar cigarette issue that's kind of one you don't see very often. They're pretty rare. And that's a 1914 cotton cigarettes, cotton with a K. And that's the T216. And that is a tobacco issue, just like the T206s, but it's a T216. And they were issued in 1914 by the People's Tobacco Company of New Orleans. And this series is very similar to the E90 and the E92. It's pretty much the same type of pictures. These cards are glossy in color, and the players are enclosed in a white border. The backs of these cards may be found with one of three different backs, namely the cotton, the Minnow cigarettes or Minnow cigarettes, and the Virginia Extra cigarettes. The latter two, the Virginia Extras and the Minnow, sell for double the prices of those. And the 216s are also found with two different thicknesses, a thin, non-glossy paper stock that's also sell for 50% more. The others are printed on the standard stock mulch, very similar to the T206s. So, you know, again, you can really get into the weeds with some of these different issues because they do tend to be very rare and different paper, different backs, and all this stuff. But you know, you're looking for players. That's what we're looking for here. And players, again, you're going to have some big name guys. You know, Chief Bender. You're going to have the Ty Cobb is in there, of course. There's a Hannes Wagner in there. There's a few Hannes Wagners and a couple of Ty Cobbs. There's a couple of Ty Cobbs. The Hannes Wagners. There's a few Ty Cobbs. Hannes Wagners. Sorry. There's one second base throwing, shortstop throwing, second base, and shortstop. So there's four different versions of the Hannes Wagner. There's also a Cy Young, Tris Speaker, Christy Mathewson. There's a couple of Christy Mathewson cards in there too, different versions of them. There's the large print and the small print. And again, there's all the different backs. So it can get really confusing if you're really digging into these pre-war. You know, that's why I have to kind of glance through and move on to the next one, because once you get into backs and stuff, you know, I'll be here forever. So the next thing is the 1914 Piedmont art stamps. And basically these are very similar to the T205s. You know, they're issued in 1914 by the Leggett Myers, which is a division, again, of the American Tobacco Company and of New York. And this was the last set issued by Piedmont. The set is a stamped version of the more popular T205 gold set of 1911. These thin stamped shaped cards are in color, and the players are enclosed by a white border. In a banner in the bottom below, it tells you the name and the name of the player and the team and all that stuff. And down in the bottom, it says Piedmont art stamps. And the backs just have some advertising in the back, but most of these were stamped. They're put in stamp albums. So they are 106 cards or stamps. They're 1.5 by 2 5/8. and there's 106 different cards. And the main ones here are going to be the Ty Cobb, Christy Mathewson, Walter Johnson, and you're going to have, Tris Speaker, a few of those guys like that. So moving on to more of the rarer stuff, and these are the Texas Tommy. Texas Tommies are very, very rare. There's the large and the small versions of them, and they were issued in 1914 by Texas Tommy Company. It's a little known company, little known about the issue too. Most cards were found in Northern California. The front of these are black and white sepia tone picture cards that have an action pose of a player enclosed by a narrow line border. And towards the bottom is, in capital letters, is the player's name followed by the team. And at the on the top of the reverse, the quote says Texas Tommy. So the cards are very rare. You're probably not going to see many of these, and if you do, they're extremely expensive. But there is a Hannes Wagner in there. There's a Zach Wheat, Tris Speaker, Christy Mathewson, Connie Mack, Ty Cobb, and the Shoeless Joe Jackson, which is a huge card. And there is the Shoeless Joe Jackson right there, if you can see that card there. And there is large and they're small, but they're different cards. They're E224s, but they're still a little bit different. The large are 2 3/8 by 3.5, and there's a set of 50. But the small is 1 7/8 by 3, and there's only a set of 14 cards. So the large ones have the Hannes Wagner and all of that, but the small ones only have a few guys. It does have a Hannes Wagner, but it doesn't have a Ty Cobb. It's got the Christy Mathewson, John McGraw, Walter Johnson. So you can see those. And again, these are real tough to find, very scarce. I'm not going to spend too much more time on those. And moving on to the 1914, 1916 coupon cigarettes. These are really, really cool cards. I really like these cards. And these were issued in 1914 through 1916 by the American Tobacco Company to capitalize on the popularity of the coupon cigarettes that were distributed in the New Orleans area. The set consists of players from the National League, American League, and Federal League, and Southern Leaguers. This is a Type 2 of the 3 types issued by this company. The brown caption cards featured major and Southern League players, while the blue caption cards feature the Federal League players. The cards look for all the world like T206s. They're pretty much just like T206s. They were, of course, published by the same company. But the backs read, mild and sweet coupon cigarettes, 20 for 5 cents, made in New Orleans. This set is 30 times rarer than the T206 and extremely difficult to find. They're printed on thin string mulch paperboard. And these cards are just, there's 2 different varieties also. So they're just like the T206s, 1.5 by 2 3/4, but there's 184 cards. And again, they were only distributed in the New Orleans area. So, who do you have in that set? You have, I'll go down the list, and you can see a lot of the big names, from Chief Bender to Frank Chance. But the big ones are, again, the Ty Cobb, which is one you see here. There's 2 different versions of the Ty Cobb. There's the Bat Off, and then the Ty Cobb Portrait. There's a Sam Crawford. There's Walter Johnson, Miller Huggins. Let's see what else we got here. We've got Rube Marquardt, a couple of versions of that. You have a Christy Mathewson in there, Tris Speaker, and a few other Hall of Famers. Not any of the big like the Hannes Wagner, but when you have Ty Cobb in there, a couple of Ty Cobbs in there, Walter Johnsons, and stuff like that, it's a pretty impressive set there. So next, we're going to move to the 1914 Zeenut, and that's the E136. And these, again, all the Zeenuts, they could have coupons or without coupons. They were all done in Northern California by the Collins and McCarthy. and they're all Southern League, minor league players. So there's really nothing in there, nothing much that I want to talk about in those. There are some rare cards in there, but the only Hall of Famer here looks like it's Frank Bancroft, and without the coupon, is what you're going to find. But they're really nice pictures, but there's no big names in there, so to speak. The next thing I want to get into now is a 1915 American Caramel, the E106. Back into the American Caramels. Issued in 1915 by the American Caramel Company of York, Pennsylvania. This set consists of players from the American, National, and Federal Leagues. The cards are similar in design to the 1914 D303s, as well as similar to the E90 and the E92. The E90s and E92s, they all have the same pictures, the same artwork. The cards have a glossy surface and are printed in color. The picture of the players enclosed by a narrow border at the bottom is the player's name, position, team, and league. And printed on the back, it says it's a set of 48 cards from the American Caramel Company. So again, a lot of these caramel cards, they all look the same in the front, but it's the backs are the main difference, But there's big names in here. There's Honus Wagner, there's Tris Speaker, Eddie Plank, there's Christy Mathewson, John McGraw, you have Nap Lajoie, you have two different Ty Cobbs, a front view and a side view, Chief Bender, Roger Bresnahan. So a lot of the big name guys, the guys we're always talking about, are all going to be in that set also. So next, we're going to talk about, and the last one we're going to talk about in this video is another big boy, the 1915 Cracker Jacks, the E145-2. And those, again, the same. I'll show you a picture on the other side here. 1915 Cracker Jacks. And those are issued in 1915, the following year. And this is one of the most beautiful and popular of the candy sets. And it's just like the 1914, all the same, almost the same pictures and all that stuff. But the main difference is when you turn these cards over, the backs are upside down in relation to the fronts. In addition to the card number, there's a short biography on the back too, and an advertisement for. The key to this is that there's an advertisement on the back of the cards for you to get the complete set, which was not available in 1914. And it says, send 100 Cracker Jack coupons or one coupon and 25 cents. One coupon and 25 cents to the Chicago, I'm laughing because 25 cents on one coupon to the Chicago office for a complete set of the 1915 Cracker Jack set. This set is printed on slightly thicker paper than 1914. The set is printed on slightly thicker paper, giving them the appearance of a higher quality. The sets were also issued in presentation borders, and so there's a few different things. Now, as many of them were not packed in the products, there were no stains. So in 1915, you're going to find better versions of the cards that have no stains, and those are the ones that you could actually order and get them directly as an entire set for a coupon and 25 cents. So we know who's in the set, but we'll go over it one more time. And you got all big names here, Connie Mack, Chief Bender, you got the Ty Cobb, the beautiful Ty Cobb there. You have Ed Walsh, Grover Cleveland Alexander, you got Rube Marquardt, you got the beautiful Walter Johnson in that set too. You got the Tris Speaker, the Nap Lajoie, you got the Honus Wagner, 1915 Cracker Jack Honus Wagner, John McGraw, and you get a better look at some of the cards, what they look like, because you have some horizontal cards also in that set, like the Christy Mathewson. You got the Christy Mathewson, you got the the Shoeless Joe Jackson, which is the big card in that set, both in the 1914 and the 1915, the Shoeless Joe Jackson. And again, you have Branch Rickey, you got Clark Griffin, Arch Roush, and a few other guys. So this is really one of the most sought after sets, the 1914 and the 1915 Cracker Jack cards. And the only difference is that the 15 are more readily available, and you can get them without wax stains, without molasses stains. Plus, you can also the backs are upside down. So I think we'll end it there. After this comes the 1915 and a bunch of other good stuff, and we'll skip that for now because now you're going to be getting into some of the rookies of the Babe. We're done with a lot of the more pre-war type stuff, even though there's still a lot more pre-war, but now we're getting to the different era of Babe Ruth. So thanks for watching, guys. This is Orlando from My Collector's Dream. Really appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to and hopefully learn. Please leave a comment, like and subscribe, and continue on with the next series. Thanks for watching, guys. Have an awesome day.